Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
Schedule your next dental appointment with Dr. Dan Schuster at Oski Dental, 641-673-4845. They're accepting new patients. Oski Dental will file all of your insurance forms for you. They're a Delta dental provider. And Oski Dental is located at 902 South 17th Street in Oskaloosa. That's Oski Dental, 641-673-4845. We make smiles happen at Oski Dental.
Good evening. Welcome to Morgan You Asked For podcast, January 8th, about 9 o'clock. Iowa time. Another week more back to normal. Holidays are over. We're kind of back where we need to be. We're home. We're not in hotel rooms. We're not traveling as much. Back home regular time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Another year ready to go at it. Starting tomorrow, this is going to be a great weekend. Playoff football Thursday, Friday for college. Playoff football for the NFL Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Coaching carousel starting to pick up. Basketball starting to pick up. Very much underrated time of year. Football's ratcheting up, getting to find the best teams. And then basketball teams are starting to separate themselves, getting ready for their tournament.
Yeah, this is a really good time of year. Like you said, starting tomorrow, we've got the college games on Thursday, Friday. Obviously, it's a full weekend of NFL, so the football season's coming to an end, but we've still got some really important games coming up, obviously with the college playoff and then the NFL playoff starting up. So it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to all the games. I know we're going to go through, and I think last week we did our picks for college, but once we get done with the NFL, if we want to change any of our picks, I guess we can.
Yeah, just kind of reiterate what we're doing anyway. So always good. Let's start with the NFL. It's kind of, I do think college football is kind of taking a back seat. We've talked about this. I understand what they're doing. They're trying to get, they can't compete this weekend. They know that. So they have to play Thursday, Friday. Kind of, basketball is kind of a Monday, Tuesday. College basketball, big games are Monday and Tuesday for the most part. Not a lot of big Thursday, Friday games. So Thursday, Friday is when they had to do it, but it's almost like it's been too long. It's 10 days. It's not a week. Now, it's only been a week. It will only be a week for Notre Dame because of the delayed Sugar Bowl, but it does feel longer than a week.
Yeah, it does. And there's the rest factor. There's also the factor that with 10 days, can some of these teams get a little bit healthier? So we hope the games are going to be competitive. I think we both think that as far as the college games go, they should both be close. Yep. It's kind of my feeling on them. I think one's going to be higher scoring. The other's going to be lower. We talked about that last time. But, yeah, now that most of these teams outside of Notre Dame, of course, have got this extra time, hopefully most of these rosters are as healthy as they can be.
Yeah. Yeah, the college, they've only played Notre Dame. Well, none of these teams won a conference championship. Texas played in theirs. Penn State played in theirs. And then, obviously, Notre Dame doesn't have one. And then, who's the other one? Well, that's it.
Ohio State didn't make it.
Ohio State didn't play in it either. So, two did, two didn't. But they haven't played a lot since December, since the calendar turned to December. 2-3 games at most. And they're used to playing every week. NFL, we're getting to it or whatever, but I was listening to some Chiefs talk, and Mahomes isn't going to play a meaningful game in 23 days. Or is he going to play for 23 days when he plays next weekend? That's a long time. Now, it was planned. They played 3 games in 11 days. So it was needed as well. And then they earned it by getting the bye. And they're also, and this is we've talked about this with LeBron, they've been to the Super Bowl and been to an AFC. They played a lot of football in the last 5 years. They've lost the Super Bowl. They've won 2, or they've won 3, right? They've won three, lost 1, and going for their 3rd in a row. So, like LeBron getting to like 9 straight finals, well, that's a whole nother season or more of playing. They're not young. As long as 15's the quarterback, the Chiefs are in contention. But that will be interesting to see. Doesn't affect this weekend, but going forward, it will.
Yeah, I mean, if they get to the Super Bowl this year, that'd be 9 extra games that they've played compared to teams that like the Jets who haven't been to the playoffs in ever. So that's another half season of football. Those games do take a toll on the body. We've talked about that before, and the Chiefs will be fine. Mahomes, Reed, they're veterans. They know what they're doing. They know what the mission is. So I think if you had a younger team, that would be a problem. But with the Chiefs, I don't see much of an issue probably for them. I know before we get to our playoff picks, I did want to go just a few minutes on the Lions-Vikings game that took place Sunday night.
Yep.
Probably the biggest regular season game in history, at least on paper, given the wins and what was at stake. Good game in the first half, and then the Vikings, in my opinion, they tried to play Lions football. They went for it several times on 4th down in the red zone instead of getting the points. They didn't convert any of them. And in the second half, I think about the 9-minute mark in the 3rd quarter, Detroit they did what Detroit does. And you could tell they were clearly a better team. And I just wonder if the Vikings are a good team, don't get me wrong, but if they were just a better story than a great team per se. Because Sam Darnold came back. That was the old Sam Darnold that I've been scared of seeing all year. And last week I said, well, I think I've seen enough. And then 1 week later, he lays an egg. So that's the NFL for you. It's a week-to-week league. And once you think you got a team or a player figured out, just wait a week and you don't.
Yeah. Was that the Sam Darnold that we've known historically, or is that just one bad game? We don't know yet. And we're going to find out this weekend. It's Monday night, right, when they play?
Monday night. That'll be the final game. Yep.
So we're going to find out. If Darnold plays bad again, it's going to cost him some money, and it's going to cost him. I think the Vikings, if they lose again, I think the Vikings let him go.
There's a good chance. I mean, it depends how he plays. If he plays well and they lose,
right,
I wouldn't be surprised if they franchise tag him. Again, it'd be nice to bring him back. In an ideal world, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell would like to bring him back, have McCarthy be the backup. If you can keep Daniel Jones on the roster, great, as a 3rd string emergency quarterback type player. But yeah, it's really going to depend how he plays. But that was a big win for Detroit. Aaron Glenn basically just secured himself a head coaching job if he wants it after that performance. I mean, They're down to bare bones on defense, and to hold the Vikings to 9 points, that's one of the better coordinator performances of the entire season so far.
Yeah, and Flores isn't going to get a job because of what happened in Miami, and there's a lawsuit out and everything. But if that was not the case, Flores is got himself a job as well, I think, because what he's done with Minnesota this year. Aaron Glenn the same way. Johnson, the offensive coordinator, will have a job if he wants. Which we're going to talk about one coaching job coming up that affects both my favorite teams coming up here in a few minutes. But, Flores with his complexity and everything, the one thing that he's got going against him is Matt Stafford and Sean McVay have seen and done everything and been successful. So they're not going to fool Stafford. It's not like a rookie Caleb Williams or a 2nd or 3rd year guy in Jordan Love. This guy's won a Super Bowl. He made the Lions credible. They weren't great, but they went to the playoffs. They were decent when he was there. Now, Coach Dan Campbell, Jared Goff has risen them to another level. But if Stafford was still there with Coach Campbell, you could say they would be a step ahead, and they might have that Super Bowl already last year instead of Goff. Now, Goff's been very good, and Goff we've talked about this before. Goff led the Rams to a Super Bowl as well. So he's been to the Super Bowl. He was actually there before Stafford.
Yeah, that trade's always an interesting one because if they still had Stafford, then they wouldn't have a lot of these draft pick players.
Right. Yes.
Gibbs, Laporta, Brian Branch. Those guys may not be there. So who knows if the team would be as good. But that's always a fun one looking back. It really that's one of the rare cases of a win-win for both teams.
Yep.
Rams got their Super Bowl. The Lions look like they've got a chance, obviously, this year and the next coming years. So it's been a win-win. And how about we move to the games that are coming up? Let's start with the Saturday game, 3:30 p.m., a tradition like any other. The Texans have made the playoffs 7 times. All 7 times they play at 3:30 on Saturday. So I'll go first on this one. It seems like everybody's making this pick, and it makes me a little bit nervous, but I am going to take the Chargers. I feel like they're hitting their stride at the right time. I like obviously Harbaugh, and they do have the number 1 scoring defense. The Chargers do. And one thing that I do like, we've talked about this season, obviously Ladd McConkey for the Chargers is a great rookie receiver, but Quentin Johnson, their first-round pick from last year, he's really starting to come into his own now. So their weapons at receiver are starting to hit their stride, and J.K. Dobbins is back. So everybody's picking the Chargers. I'm one of them. Usually home, and the Chargers are favored. Usually home dogs in the wild card round are the way to go, but I'm going Chargers in this one.
I would like to see the Chargers win, and the conventional wisdom would say the Chargers are the better team. The Texans haven't been playing good. And I've still got to make my picks in Whitford's pool. I haven't sent him I got to do that before Saturday morning. But for the podcast, I'm going to pick the Texans just because everybody's picking the Chargers. And I think I'm probably going to have to do that in Whitford's pool too, because that's the only way to win. Now, the first round isn't as big a deal because of the points, but you've got to pick some. You can't go with everybody else. You got to go a little bit different and hope it happens. So I'm going to take the Texans, but it would not shock me one bit if the Chargers do win that game.
Yeah, I actually thought you and I would be both on the Chargers on this one. So that's a little bit.
I love Jim Harbaugh. I love the Chargers. They're really good. I kind of hope they win, but for my pick, I'm going to take the Texans just because I think that's the play, and Stroud will play better in this game for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, it should be a good one, but it most likely should be a close game. And then we move into 7 p.m. Iowa time. Steelers at the Ravens. Ravens are a 9.5-point favorite. My really only concern, Lamar, I think, is 2-4 in his career against the Steelers. He's been hurt some of the games where they've played, so he hasn't played them, the max amount of times that he could have throughout his career. The Ravens are clearly the better team. The Steelers are going into the playoffs, 4 straight losses. The offense looks, pretty putrid, just to be honest about it. My only concern, I am going to take the Ravens in this one, but my only concern is if it's close at half, does Lamar get tight in the second half? Because we know his playoff performances really haven't been that good yet throughout his career. And we've seen some of the all-time greats struggle their first 4 or 5 years in the playoffs before they really start racking up wins. But I'm taking the Ravens here, but I am a little bit concerned since it's a divisional game in the playoffs. I think I saw something that the last 4 or 5 games that the Steelers have played in the playoffs, they've been blown out in all of them. I mean, 20, 30-point losses.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Ravens as well, but it would not – the Steelers are going to give them a run. And I'm 100% with you. Lamar has not been successful in the playoffs. The Ravens have not been successful with Lamar. So that's like you said, that's the one thing that gives you a little bit of pause. Now, the Steelers have not been good in the playoffs lately. They get to the playoffs, but they lose. And as you said, they've lost a lot and not close lately. And they're not playing very good right now, just period. They are leaking oil. The engine's about ready to blow. And we're going to talk about the Bears coaching search here coming up, but there is some rumors. Would the Bears be interested in getting Tomlin, and would he maybe be available? Just new scenery for everybody involved. The Steelers don't change coaches, but he has not got them where they want to be or expect to be in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I